Thank you for staying with us. Time now for your business news. And South Africa cannot grow without transformation. But transformation in the economy cannot take place unless there is growth. That's the challenge the country is grappling with at the moment. This is one of the many issues being addressed at this year's Black Business Summit. Business and government are coming together over the next 2 days to discuss issues around transformation and empowerment, procurement, tackling crime and corruption, and creating space in the market for previously disadvantaged business people. Let's go to eNCA's business anchor, Rofhiwa Madzena, who is at the conference, and she joins us now live to give us more details. Rof, of course, we know that the relationship between business and government is quite an important one. What are some of the issues that have been discussed there today?
A very good afternoon to you, Masako. So the big story, as you mentioned in your intro, is around transformation and creating opportunities for businesses to thrive in South Africa. There are many panel discussions that have been taking place throughout the morning and early afternoon, tackling the different issues. And one in particular that was important was the one around crime and how to tackle that so that businesses can thrive operating in the different provinces. One of the panelists that was there was the Chief Executive for Rand Water, Sipho Messiah, and he joins us this afternoon for a brief engagement. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. A very important panel that you were a part of. We've seen crime and the destruction of critical infrastructure ruining business opportunities in South Africa. What would you say were some of the key outcomes of that panel discussion in terms of how do we tackle this problem?
Yeah, I think certainly what came out of the panel is that we need, if you like, an integrated approach to dealing with crime, because it affects us a great deal from different aspects point of view, specifically about water. What we are seeing now is a disturbing trend where everything that we own and have is vandalized. We're talking even air valves. When we have power outages and the system has to recover, we've got a lot of airlocks in the system. For you to remove those airlocks so that you can recover quickly, it means you have to use valves. If they are vandalized, you can't do that. So part of what we've been seeing is that we are at the receiving end of that. The second issue is around encroachment of our servitudes, encroachment of our pipes, making it difficult for us to really supply water. And I think under the leadership of Minister Cele, we're finding a solution integrated to deal with that. What you've also seen, our infrastructure specifically is our national key points. And then if you have people, blockading them and closing them off and threatening to attack them, it's a serious crime issue. And largely for us, the issue of lack of access to water is a crime on its own. It's a crime against humanity. And assurance of supply going forward is important. So our view is that to deal with some of the challenges that we have in the water and sanitation sector, we've got to have a different delivery model to ensure that it's sustainable and going forward. We believe water and sanitation should be run in a utility manner, in the sense that when you pay for your water tariff, it goes into a utility and stays there. And it doesn't cross-subsidize other services in municipalities, as an example, so that we can operate, maintain, refurbish, and augment our infrastructure that we have and deal with the issues of crime. Join sectors, other sectors that have got the same problem like us with respect to encroachment, and assurance of supply going forward in dealing with crime. In a way, we have seen people that also really getting into our chambers and breaking them because they want water after load shedding, so they can't get water quickly. That must stop. And the essence of our panel is to put our minds together and find a solution to deal with that.
I mean, in the immediate term or in the interim, you've mentioned a very dire picture in terms of the levels of crime and vandalism that's happening that is impacting the supply of water to different communities by Rand Water. Are there any immediate initiatives as Rand Water that you've been looking at to make sure that even with the load shedding and the other disruptions that may happen, there is somewhat of a steady supply of clean, drinkable water?
I mean, the few things that we've been looking at, but on the top of my mind, we are working with what we call our Rainwater Foundation. What we have done to deal with the issue of unemployment of the youth, we are going to have what we call, for want of a better word, what we call green beret. We'll have these young people in the community, giving them education and awareness, getting them out of the crime-ridden townships and places to safeguard this infrastructure. So we will be recruiting for that in the short term to ensure that every single place where we have this infrastructure that is being vandalized is safeguarded by our own youth. So we're dealing with issue of crime, but we're dealing with issues of youth empowerment. You're dealing with issues of unemployment in that space. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. The other issues around education and awareness. What we are finding is really largely the encroachment challenge that we have, where people build on top of our pipes and our valves and on our beacons. It's really out of ignorance, lack of understanding that if we build on top of our pipes, and should that pipe burst, these things are mechanical, you're going to lose your life. So we're working long and hard with our stakeholder engagement to educate and train and raise issues of awareness in that regard. But more importantly, we're working with institutions like PRASA, Transnet, where they have the same problem of encroachment, so that we put the little bug that we have in one place to ensure that we have resources around education and awareness, policing, and so on and so forth to deal with that. But of course, I think crime is an issue that has to be tackled head on at the lowest level to ensure that it isn't crime. Dealing with crime is really dealing with the symptoms. So we want to get into our society and talk about these issues and prevent them and tackle them head on before they take place.
At grassroots levels, if you will. A final one from you. Transnet, as an example, indicated that they were spending just over R1 billion a year for security so that the infrastructure was not damaged or stolen. Do you have a ballpark figure of how much you've had to spend on this particular issue as opposed to expanding operations or innovating Rand Water to just provide services at an elevated level, but instead you're now spending the bulk of the money on this issue?
I think I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I can tell you that number is escalating.
Yeah.
We would probably spend in order of few millions, no more than 20 million on our security largely. But we have seen that we are doubling those numbers because we have to now guard our national key point. We have to have security guards. We have to, as you say, we are going to have to employ more people to safeguard that. So we're seeing our numbers starting to double as a result thereof. And some of the fights we have not even won. Issues of encroachment. We have 3,500 kilometers of pipes that run across our entire value chain. We can't have a security guard for every meter of that pipe. So it is important that we also train and educate the rest of the society to have a fair understanding of this is a rainwater beacon, and therefore what does that mean. So I think the numbers are really climbing, and it is a matter of concern for us to safeguard all our infrastructure in the now and going forward. It can't be, as you rightfully say, we're spending money on safeguarding our infrastructure on crime instead of upgrading and refurbishing with the little that we have our infrastructure. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. That, of course, is the Chief Executive for Rand Water there, Mr. Sipho Masego, giving us a sense of what Rand Water deals with when it comes to crime and how much they're spending on it and really just what needs to change. There'll be other conversations. We're hoping to speak to the Minister of Water and Sanitation as well before he has his panel discussion. Minister Bheki Cele was here as well, engaging other panelists. But a very interesting day indeed, Masego, and a lot of great insights that are coming from the different voices here. With that, Masego, let's take a look at the market indicators for the day. So we are seeing that the markets are marginally in the red today with broad-based losses. We're seeing that that renewed call to hike interest rates by global central banks is going to have an impact on how market participants engage the markets, and that is, of course, reflective in the mixed picture that we're seeing in early afternoon trade.